Speedway Tavern. Speedway Tavern. Speedway Tavern.
Welcome to the Speedway Tavern. Enjoy your stay. Welcome to the Speedway Tavern. What's the news today? Have a drink, have your say. All opinions here today. Welcome to the Speedway Tavern. Enjoy your stay. Webby, GA, and Matt are here today. Welcome to the Speedway Tavern. Come and have your say.
Hello and congratulations to our new Speedway World Champion for the third time. Well done, Bartek Schmarzlik. Now, there's still much to fight for, though, as Madsen and Dudek both duke it out for second, and for Robert Plampert, second place is not out of the question either. And then you've got Bewley, Lambert, Lindgren and Janowski all with third place within their grasp. There's a lot still to play for. Congratulations should also be given to Dan Bewley, who over the weekend secured the title of British champion. Well done, Dan. Well deserved. Also, great news is the fact that Peterborough keep their track for another year anyway. But not such good news about Edinburgh or Coventry. Only in Speedway.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening. We have in the studio, as ever, him and him. So, Chris and Matt.
We've also got them and them.
Yeah, and Chris is slowly transforming into a cyborg or something. What it looks like from here.
Got worse.
You'll find it one day. So.
Yeah. So, how are we? And
all good.
Yeah, it was a foregone conclusion, wasn't it? Bartek Schmarzlik.
I think so. He hasn't been at his best, I don't think, this year, but in
hasn't
fairness,
needed to be,
really. 148 points now, cannot be caught, with Leon Madsen on 117, Patrick Dudek on 100, Robert Lambert 97, Dan Bewley 93. So, Schmarzlik world champion for the third time.
But it's close. Anybody could be anywhere almost.
Yeah.
Good to see Ty Woffington make a final.
Yeah, he rode a bit better, didn't he? He's 14 points. I think that's his second best score of the season. But I think obviously for him, it's now all about planning for. I mean, you've seen in the interviews that he's done in the last few days. He's putting a lot of emphasis onto next year and sort of rejuvenating a GP crew that seems to have stagnated a little bit.
Yeah. So strange to say that he's three-time world champion. Let's not forget that. So, the most successful champion we've had. Do you think Dan Bewley's success at the British final might have something to do with his poor showing in the GP? Maybe he didn't have his best bikes.
Possibly. He didn't have a great night, did he? Only 2 points. I mean, in fairness, I don't think anybody really expected big things of him this year. So to go and win back-to-back Grand Prix, and one of them, of course, being his home Grand Prix,
definitely qualified for next year.
Yeah, as is Robert Lambert, of course, as well. So I mean, he's pretty much sealed his place there, and of course, they could still get a medal in the last Grand Prix in Torrens as well. They're still within striking range. There's a decent queue of riders there. So
absolutely. I mean, there's I think all the way down to Ty Woffington, but not including Ty Woffington.
If there's a queue, it means Phil Schofield's probably going to win it, doesn't he? Sorry, I shouldn't have gone there.
Topical.
Controversial. Okay, so Chris, do you want to tell everybody how they can join in tonight?
Okay. So on Facebook, if you do a search for UK Speedway Tavern, you'll find us on all the good all the good Speedway pages and groups. We're also on YouTube. Again, do the same thing. Search for UK Speedway Tavern. If you miss this show today, you can watch us again on all your favourite podcast platforms. That includes Apple, Acast, Google, Spotify and YouTube. There you go.
And of course, if you want to join in tonight, and please do, you can contribute on Facebook, can't they?
Yeah.
And,
You can join in on the shout box.
and on the shout box.
Yeah.
And
just say
everything,
hello.
so-
If anything, just say hello.
Absolutely. And we have a telephone number if you want to ring up.
Of course, yeah. Just send a message on the shout box to me, and I shall with your phone number, and I'll call you back.
There you go. So we've got a few people on there, so let's go right to the top, because there's...
There you go.
Yeah, okay, so evening all, and hello guys from Andrew, Elliot and Rich. Peter Clark, evening all, no covering the damned greyhound track this week. Yeah, because we're normally at Birmingham, they would be at the covering the track roundabout now. Nick Green gutted about the bees. Yes, we will, I'm sure, come on to that. And Craig Smee wants to talk about that as well. The Coventry one seems a very strange outcome. How can the rumoured council decision to approve the plans for housing be finalised before the actual court hearing? Seems like a very large brown envelope has been received by Rugby Council. He said that not
That's
as...
Craig's comments, not the views of Speedway Tavern, by the way.
Yeah. The campaign group are resubmitting their objection and making a valid point that the original plans for housing application had to include the sustainability of the Speedway at Brandon or an alternative venue found within the plans. It's not over until it's over, but it seems like a foregone conclusion and the developers getting their way as usual. It don't sound good, does it?
No, it doesn't sound good at the moment. I know, obviously, the Save Coventry and Stocks Group certainly haven't left any stones unturned in their campaign to get back into Brandon. And I know for a fact that they're going to carry on the fight as well. So it's not over till it's over, because obviously the decision's still got to go to council and go on. And of course, let's not forget that that doesn't mean. Just because the recommendation is to approve it, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to get
this
it.
Is true.
So let's keep our fingers crossed. That,
I mean, for instance, when Birmingham first applied for planning permission, the recommendation was to reject it.
Yep.
And we're still here. So there you go. Elliot's updating Plymouth versus Poole 30-30 after 10 heats, so that's pull through then, isn't it?
Yeah, they obviously won the first leg by 30, didn't they? So
yeah. Kids rave on currently one whole lap of the Speedway track. Does anybody understand that? Okay. Perhaps you could try again, Elliot. Evening to Lawrence. Lawrence also got an evening
night.
off.
Yeah, free night tonight. So.
And Bazza Patterson so gutted for Edinburgh Monarchs for next season. Yeah, I mean, that's another one where it seems a little bit weird.
Yeah, it did a bit. I think possibly there's a case that Edinburgh would have been better off keeping their plans a little bit quieter at the time, because they may be a lot. I think a lot of people at the time when the plans were announced. I mean, I think particularly a lot of Edinburgh fans have probably looked at it and they sort of jumped to the conclusion that it was already a done deal. It certainly wasn't a done deal. They had to get this thing through first, of course. Hopefully they can, do some sort of deal to stay at Armadale for another year. Although I don't know how feasible that is, but it's obviously a big blow, because Edinburgh are a club that have really made a lot of good progress in the last few years. Very, very well run club, very community driven club as well. And it'd be a real shame for Speedway to lose one of its prime clubs up in the north.
And Elliot was trying to say close one at Plymouth, just half-time fun for the kids. There you go.
There we go.
Yeah, I mean, we don't want to lose Edinburgh.
But we don't want to lose any club.
We
really,
don't want to lose
so
Coventry.
Yeah.
Getting depressed now. Can somebody cheer me up, please?
Well, Peterborough, of course, have got another year. That's
Yes.
obviously big positive news for them.
Yes, absolutely.
So-
hopefully that's going to give them time to sort something
Yeah.
out. I hate to lose Peterborough. It's one of the best tracks in the league. But
Yeah, well, I've not been to Peterborough for years, but I'm seriously tempted to. If they're in the same league as Wolves next year, seriously tempted to make what possibly could be a final trip to the showground before they move to another venue. So, but it's not a track that Wolves generally do that well on. It is a very, very good racetrack.
so we should also have a look at what's going on in the Championship vis-a-vis semi-finals then, because it's going to obviously Poole are through now, unless Plymouth gets 5 nons all the way through, which actually still wouldn't get, they'd still lose.
No, they still lose. Yeah, so.
Working it out quickly in my head.
So obviously Edinburgh are already through. That's got a victory with their victory over Red Car. I think that got one of the biggest cheers of the night at Birmingham's presentation evening, didn't it?
It did, yeah. Leicester, well, got to cheer out something, haven't we, this year?
That's right.
Leicester chose to go up against Edinburgh. Is that a bit of a surprise, do you think?
A little bit, yeah.
I thought it was a surprise.
Yep, so that's the semi-final. So that starts on Friday. First leg at Armadale, the second leg the day after.
Which will leave Poole to go up against Glasgow.
That should be a good one, shouldn't it? Probably
couldn't get too further apart places.
Couldn't get too further apart, but definitely two of the strongest teams.
Yeah, I mean Glasgow was my
so.
From all the teams that I visited Perrybar this year, Glasgow I thought was the strongest.
Yeah.
Just from that one sort of look at it. Rich Thomas says there's still nothing at Swindon except more houses being built.
I've got massive concerns over the Swindon project at the moment. That just seems to be. I think. I mean, we've had Lee Kilby on the show many times in the past, haven't we? And Lee's probably one of the most positive people you can meet. But I think even he's now starting to have raised questions about what exactly is happening down at Swindon.
Absolutely. Craig Smee says, I was shocked to see the Edinburgh news as the media release and the plans submitted made it seem like it was 100% happening and a case of dotting the I's and crossing the T's. Seems it was a million miles away and they jumped the gun a bit. Seems dead in the water now, which is a shame. Councils really need to back Speedway if clubs are to stay around. Edinburgh, Peterborough, Newcastle, just 3 teams that could disappear for good by the end of 2023, which is a huge worry. I've got nothing to add to that. I mean,
should we go on?
Should we go out? Yeah,
I'm kind of so depressed now.
I know, yeah.
Yeah. Well, we should look at. I'm trying to stay positive here. We should have a look at Dan Bewley.
Yep.
New British champion. Went through the card. That doesn't happen very often.
No, it doesn't really, does it? I think he was the overwhelming favourite to win that meeting.
Feel a bit sorry for Chris Harris.
Yeah, I felt maybe the air went out of the balloon a little bit, didn't it? Really, with Bomber, he was really in the mix in the first staging, and just couldn't really, never really got going. It's not. I don't think it's a track that Chris rides that well.
Right.
In fairness, I don't think it's ever been one of his favourite tracks. I mean, Scott Nichols as well in the first staging back in August. He was. I don't think Scott would have won it, but he was on 7 points after 3 rides, so he was still very much in the mix. But again another one who doesn't generally find his best form at Bellevue. But the interesting thing with the British final for me was the fact that it was on the Sunday. I quite like the fact that it was on the Sunday because, I mean, traditionally, of course, it was a Sunday meeting for all the years that it was staged at Coventry. I think a meeting like that should be a weekend meeting. I've never understood why I understand why the British final is staged on the Monday. I think it's generally for the television, but it was televised on Sunday. So,
well, cameras don't stop working on a Sunday, do they? As far as I'm aware.
Not no, but there was some good racing as well. Possibly says a lot that Dan Bewley won it with a full maximum, but the night before in the Grand Prix he only scored 2 points. So,
well, I did wonder whether his best bikes were not at the Grand Prix. And
Yeah.
possibly, but Elliot Hunt says Wolves are back riding on Thursday at Kings Lynn, final League One of the season for us, and he's disappeared. There we go. No, he's still not there. Come on. Oh dear, I can't get the stuff.
There you go.
Thank you very much.
Sorry.
Hope we can get a good result. Then the first playoff meeting with opposition to be confirmed on Monday. Need a good lead for the second leg. 2 good meetings coming up. Looking forward to being there. I may well go and cheer on whoever Wolves are playing.
Well, it's going to be interesting. I mean, at the moment, the table, as things stand at the moment, it would be Ipswich, which doesn't really thrill me because we haven't beaten Ipswich this season. There's obviously still a few Tristan turns left to go. Of course, a 6-point win for a full win tonight on Thursday night for Wolves would possibly open the door to getting third. Although I think the count back obviously would be on points, and Bellevue and Sheffield have still got 2 matches left. So still a little bit to do in the next few weeks, but. Still, it's still very, very difficult to call who's going to get which team. So
Simon Corbett says Glasgow haven't rode at home since early August, which is mad, and still have injury doubts, which is Speedway, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Lawrence Rogers points out that the British final at Coventry used to be on a Wednesday.
it was for a bit, wasn't it? But I mean, traditionally from when I was growing up, it was always a Sunday.
Yeah, me and Lawrence go back a bit further than you.
Yeah, Mike goes
What you're saying is you're older than me. So.
right
Yeah.
way back. That's
I have
black and white
more
days.
I'm wiser than you. That's what I'm saying.
Well,
Older and wiser.
older. So.
Brian Buck says Edinburgh really didn't deserve this. True, they might have been a bit hasty in releasing the news that they had secured an alternative site, but they were given every indication that their plans would be accepted, and it seems now that some members of the local planning committee backtracked on this commitment. Yeah, I mean, the lesson is it ain't so until it's so.
No.
You know.
But just on that subject, by the way, did you apologise to Brian for last week? Our last show. Or did you, the thing that you forgot to do? Or I printed out.
Oh God,
Oh,
yes, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I haven't. I'm really sorry, Brian. I forgot to read you things about
23 pages.
yeah, Graham Warren and the Graham Warren Trophy, and then we didn't have one last week for obvious reasons, so we couldn't do it again.
Okay.
I'm sorry. There you go.
It's just not good enough.
You happy now?
Sorry, it's not
Not
good
really,
enough.
but
Craig Smith says, what do you make of the dates fixed for the Premier League playoffs? Usually it's a last minute decision on who rides against who on league position and trying to get dates finalised. They finalised the dates already before we know who's finished top and who races against who. I suppose it helps TV coverage to plan and ticket sales to be released in plenty of time. I think it's a good thing, really.
yeah. Well, the other thing as well is it does give you a chance to sort of promote the meeting as well. Sort of, you've got a chance of winning the league championship, so you can promote it in the local press.
We've got Graham Pearson, who's the father of James Pearson on the show.
man.
First time listening live. Sorry we didn't meet Michael, but the rain cancelled the meeting. Next year, hopefully. Great show, thank you. I'd love to meet you. And you must be well proud that James picked up the trophy for Rider of the Year, voted for
Yeah, he's
by
made a
the
big impression,
supporters.
hasn't he? So.
And Lawrence Rogers reckons he's only 29, but he's had a hard life.
I was going to say that's his waistline, but no, it can't be, can it? No. Definitely can't. I've seen it.
That's his ankle size. Oh dear, that's
Good
my
night.
season ticket
Yeah.
cancelled.
And all those beers he was going to buy you.
Yeah.
Brian Reeson says, when are they going to stage the pairs meetings? What are left? Don't know.
Well, I've said this before, haven't I? I mean, and clubs go weeks and weeks and weeks without staging any meetings, and then come September, it's like the red light comes on, and they suddenly go on a mad dash to try and cram everything in. And of course, at this stage, time of the year, of course, is when the weather's starting to turn. So.
Craig Smee, Lewis Kerr tweeted today saying he wishes the British... I haven't seen this tweet. So
No, I've not seen it.
he wishes the British final would change venue as he doesn't feel it's a level playing Sheffield, I presume that means, received a bit of backlash as the NSS is the best track in the country, as we know. Okay, there might be a few people that disagree with that, but it depends on what you mean by best track, I guess. One idea thrown up which seems good is to do a mini GP series for the British final, so maybe do a round at each Premiership club track like the pairs have been done this year, and then points tallied up to crown an overall champion.
The other thing, of course, they could do, I mean, that's one thing. I suppose
Might be over by it gets to the last meeting, though.
The other thing, of course, they could do is do what they used to do for a period and then share it around the tracks. So it goes to one track one year, then another track is it the next year.
Yeah, that seems like a good idea.
Let's just send it to Birmingham every year. I'm not biased.
Track staff are awful.
Oh,
Yeah, I know, yeah.
They're so lazy.
Especially that flag marshal, the first bench.
Oh,
yeah,
God,
Elliot's put all the
It's all right when you wake him up.
dates for the forthcoming playoffs, I presume that must be.
Yep, absolutely.
Pete Clark says, did Mike enjoy his raffle prize win? I'm not talking about that.
What
Thank
did
you
you
very
win?
much.
Come
Service
on,
interest.
explain all.
No, I got into a lot of trouble.
Oh, no.
I'll tell you after.
Oh, no. Well, the audience want to know.
No, well, tough, they
Don't
can't.
matter.
No,
We're all friends.
They're
here.
all switched off in their
Thanks for
garage
that,
now,
Pete.
so-
Thanks for that, Pete.
We're all friends.
Graham's very proud indeed. Big thank you to the promotion, Lawrence, and all the supporters for supporting James in his first year. We should talk a little bit, well, we shouldn't, but I'm going to talk a little bit about the presentation evening at Birmingham, which seems really weird to be having that this early, but there you go. And there were a few things said, some which I can probably and some which I probably shouldn't.
No.
Sam Masters won't be our number one.
I think we can get
I
that.
think
That is,
yeah, I think we can say that. But one of the things that struck me very highly was the amount of praise all the different riders were giving to the promotion, particularly in the sense of they got paid on time.
yeah.
Within 48 hours, I think.
Justin Tedder went as
said.
far as saying that it's the quickest he's ever known any club
Yeah.
by the riders.
And he was saying, and that's why riders will want to come and ride for you,
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
they've all they pay. It seems a weird, shouldn't they be paid?
Yeah.
I mean,
It seems strange to be a subject that's top of the agenda in
but-
sport, but yeah.
there you go.
That's
So
very good.
well done the promotion, I guess,
Yeah, fantastic.
and not so well done the other promotions.
Yeah, so
Jeff Daniel says this Thursday's matches are the cut-off date because playoffs start next Monday. If Sheffield beat Bellevue, they finish top and would ride Wolves, who cannot finish higher than fourth. If Bellevue win at Sheffield, it's Wolves, Ipswich and Bellevue, Sheffield. There you go. That's cleared that up.
okay.
Oh, and we've got to the bottom of the page.
Yeah.
Fantastic. We both went to see the Alan Graham Memorial meeting.
Yes.
I mean, the result didn't matter, really.
It was a very, very good crowd. I must
It
say.
was a fantastic
plenty of
crowd,
fans.
yeah,
Quite a
yeah.
few crowd fans that I've not seen for quite a while. Nice to catch up with them and laugh at them, obviously. So.
They did get a bit of a pasting.
Yes, they did. I mean,
They started off bad, and they had a few. Tom Brennan, who was brilliant for the rest of the meeting, started off bad, and
yeah.
all of these things.
Yeah, I mean, it was obviously. I mean, I have to say as well that I thought Birmingham handled the minute silence and then obviously the singing of the national anthem. I thought they did that brilliantly. To be fair, still can't get used to singing "God Save the King," but that's
It'll come.
It'll come, yeah.
It'll
But
come.
yeah, I mean, Ryan Douglas obviously was superb for Cradley.
And Tom Brennan as well when he got
And Tom
going.
Brennan as well, but they were just carrying too many really. Tom Perry, he was always going to struggle after so long out of the saddle.
I think he said he could do 3 laps and that was it.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, the most important thing, it was nice obviously to see the Graham family all there as well.
All of the Graham
All the
family,
Graham
right down to little. I mean, I don't know how tall that one at the back. I mean,
Yeah.
all riding motorbikes. I mean,
Yeah, absolutely, and
That's
Oh, we got to say, Andy Graham obviously had a spin round after the meeting.
We've
and,
actually got some photos of that, which I think you're going to put on. Thanks to Phil McGlynn for that. There you go.
I'll put that one on you. Mm-hmm. There you go. Explain to the audience.
So there's Andy Graham getting on his bike to have his. He didn't look bad for it. I mean, how old is he? He's 70s, isn't he?
He's got to be like 60s, isn't he?
So not bad at all. Apparently he did a faster time than the Bulls matches. So.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I think
picture too.
I always got the impression with Andy Graham, but I think part of him still wishes he was riding. To be fair, because he has done a few laps around Perrybar, hasn't he? Since the club reopened in 2007. So obviously he did the match races that he did with his brother.
Yeah. Good to see a Wessie going around as well.
Yeah, so it was a good night, to be fair. I mean, there was a couple of decent races. I mean, it was always going to be difficult to have close competitive racing because the teams in the end were just far too far apart, really.
But there was some good racing.
Yeah.
Andy Graham is 65, apparently. He's only a year older than me, so I don't know what I'm talking about.
So who's this?
This is all Andy Graham.
Graham.
It's all Andy Graham.
All
Andy Graham going around. Many thanks again to Phil McGlynn for the photos. He's going to send us a few more.
Yeah.
And
40 years since he won the British title as well, isn't it?
Yeah, 40 years. I was there.
Okay.
I lost my wallet and my driving licence, which was then returned to me 20 years later.
Yeah.
Really?
With 2 driving endorsements on it.
Really?
True story. Yeah.
I don't know who the guy is in the
and none of the money
in the high vis, but
no, we won't talk about him.
No, he's a bit too close to the track for my liking. So
clapping his hero.
Yeah, clapping
his hero.
Thankfully, when Andy was going around, he did pick a bit of extra drive and veer towards the centre green, because that person might have moved a bit quicker, mightn't they? So.
Shut up. So it was a good night, and I think a good meeting to have, and I think one that hopefully will become established and we have again.
Well, my dad said afterwards, I mean, it probably would be a good meeting to open the season with.
Maybe.
I mean, obviously the plan for Birmingham was to open against Coventry, of course, but obviously the rain intervened in that one. I just hope. I mean, I think the Birmingham Coventry as a regular thing would be nice as well. But the only thing I wonder really with Coventry, if the decision goes against them in a few weeks' time, that maybe one or two of the Coventry fans will probably lose heart and it won't sort of attract as many to go and watch meetings. Hope that's not the case, but we'll see, because Coventry obviously is one of the best sporting clubs in the country. It's a travesty that there's no Speedway in Coventry at the moment. It's
a travesty there's no Speedway in Cradley either.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous. Craig Smee, who would you rather Wolves have? This is to you, Matt. Who would you rather Wolves get in the semi-finals if you had the choice?
Well, whichever one I say is probably going to beat us, aren't they? So, you're probably going to laugh at me, Bellevue.
Sorry.
Well,
seriously.
Yeah. You got a bit of a record.
Got a decent record up at the NSS this season, and we've beaten Bellevue fairly comfortably at home. So, and obviously, I'm sure that CVS would love the big crowds, because Bellevue Wolves really do produce some of the best crowds of the season. So,
okay, I'm now going to disagree with Phil Pulteney. Or a little bit, and please, this is just my opinion. I'm not having a go at anybody at all. He says, being a massive fan of Speedway, I try to get my friends to watch. Some say to me there's not enough overtaking on certain tracks, and whoever gets out of the gate first wins. I tend to agree on some occasions. How could the guys who prepare the track make it more raceable to make it good to watch for newcomers? But you see, I think that if you go to any other motorsport, you go to Formula One, the possible exceptions could be the MotoGPs and motocross. I don't think you see a lot of passing. on them, certainly not enough, and yet,
So-
but
so-
people
so-
don't.
yeah,
But people
certainly not
don't say
F1.
that. You know, I mean, F1 is very often the first out the gate. If you want to put it that way, it's designed to be that way.
Well, I mean,
And it's changing tyres and changing.
That's
You
a
know,
good question.
the F1 race that gets the biggest crowd is the Monaco Grand Prix, but the racing is
It's
dreadful,
awful.
because you just can't pass.
there is no
It's just
rest.
that-
There is no
that's
racing.
right. It's just
I hate
street
Monaco.
racing, isn't it?
So that's the first thing, but also Speedway has something. I was talking to Justin Sedgman the other day, actually.
He's name dropping
Name
there,
dropping
so.
again. The thing and he says, "Yeah, you're right. I never thought about that." The mecca of motorsport racing is the outside pass.
Yeah,
Doesn't happen very often in
that's
Formula One.
no, that's right.
The only sport that I can think of, motorsport, where it would happen with the same sort of regularity as Speedway, is possibly motocross.
Yeah,
But the outside pass is very much the pass. I mean, you do get inside passes as well, which is, so where do you look?
the hairs on the back of your neck don't stand up when there's an inside pass in the way that there's someone
Yeah,
blast around.
yeah,
Because you've got to be
absolutely.
brave and you've got to be quick to do it. So
Yeah. So, we have that other motorsports don't. We have that mecca of motorsport, the outside pass.
yeah,
You got 13 races. So I've always said Speedway has 3 bites of the cherry. It's 15 races, not 13. I'm
Yeah.
going back to my youth again. It has 3 bites of the cherry to be exciting. Obviously, the racing itself can be exciting, and very often is. Even on boring matches, you sometimes get a race that makes you go, "Whoa, that was worth the admission fee alone."
Yeah.
So something you hear very often. The other one is that you could have a boring match, but the racing can still be good.
yeah,
In the sense that it's a foregone conclusion who's going to win because you're there. But the racing can still be good.
yeah.
So that's another bite of the cherry. Or you can have not great racing, but the scoreline itself
Good, yeah.
makes it exciting.
That's that's
You
almost like any like in football and rugby and stuff. Yeah, so sometimes you can have a boring 1-0, but that 1-0 means a lot.
So how can they prepare it? It's consistency. Tracks need to be consistent, either consistently slippy or consistently grippy,
Yeah.
but have consistency so that the riders feel confident that no matter where they put their back wheel, it's going to respond how they expect it to.
Well, if
I
a
think
rider's
that's
got
the
if a
be all and
rider has
end all.
got no confidence in the track, then it's going to affect the ability to race, isn't it? To take.
So I
take
think
the risk.
consistency is.
Yeah.
Now, sometimes you can't help that because the weather does what the weather does.
Yeah,
But it's
I
consistency.
should imagine it's a bit of an elephant in the room, isn't it? Really, to non or new people to speedways. Why's the bloke at the first out of the gate? Why does he always win? I can understand the question.
But it's not. It's
not,
something
no.
that's been levelled at Speedway
Yeah.
since ad infinitum and isn't
Yeah.
true.
well, that's it.
It can be true sometimes, and so you either highlight the races that were really good, or you highlight the races that are not. But
The other big advantage that Speedway's got, I think,
I know what you're going to say.
Bernie Eccleston
Yes.
came up with his comment there, is the fact that it's all
You can see it
see the
all
whole lot,
Yeah.
whereas in F1, of course, you only see the cars for
Well,
about a couple of seconds. And
on
then,
any other motorsport. I can't think of any other motorsport where you can see everything happening. I can't think of one.
no.
No, I can't think of one. Somebody will correct me. But
Yeah.
Craig Smee says, I find some of the smaller tracks, they don't allow the dirt line to build up. I've been to some tracks, and after 4 races, they're dragging the dirt back to inside the track. I also think smaller tracks should have banking on both corners to try and allow speed to build up and passing possibility on the straights.
Yeah, they could certainly do with trying to get some banking at Cardiff, in fairness.
I think most tracks start dragging I know we do at Birmingham, we start dragging it back towards the centre. That's more a maintenance thing than anything.
Yeah.
Mike, if you click that pen again, it is going straight up your Michael Harris.
But consistency is the thing, I think. I'd like to see some banking at Birmingham.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's a cracking little racetrack on its day. Some banking would make it
Would make it better.
Yeah,
There's a few
for
bankers.
me.
You don't want it too extreme, do you? Because I
No.
always thought that was one of the big problems at Cradley. Was that you just had they just had one line, and it was just a fast outside line.
I mean, one of the great things about Birmingham has been in the past that you can go both inside and outside.
Yeah.
Scott. You know, it's so. Who do we think is signing for Birmingham next season, or who would we like to keep from the current team? Says Anthony Bailey. Only Seji and maybe Nielsen for me. I think I'm going to defer that answer that question to you. What do you think? I mean, I think Seji's got to come back, hasn't he?
Justin Sedgman, I think, is a good possibility to come back. He's been, I think he's been a real revelation, isn't he? To be honest, considering when the club signed him, there was almost a feeling of utter disgust, wasn't there?
Yeah.
From some people, but I think James Pearson possibly will be back as well at the bottom end of the team.
I think he's done enough in the last few
Yeah.
weeks, certainly to.
I think
warrant that.
there's possibly a couple of riders who maybe time has come to move on for Birmingham. So I will name the two riders, Ashley Morris and James Shanes.
Okay.
You know, I've got a lot of time for both of them, and they are both good riders. But certainly in the case of James Shanes, I know he's had 2 years of really bad injury problems, but I feel in some ways that he's possibly stagnated a little bit. He's not getting great scores in the National League now, in fairness. So possibly a move away could do him good. I think I've the feeling I've got really for Birmingham is that they will have a decent side next year. I think they need to have a good side.
Yes,
Really,
but that's certainly the
Yeah.
feeling we're getting from what people are saying, and obviously, the one thing that they have said, and we probably should say this, is that I can't talk to any riders yet.
No.
Not until the season's finished, and they're well aware of that. But
Yep.
but based on the riders that have come to them and said, if you're looking for a rider next year, call me.
Yeah.
It would appear to be good. Brian Reeson says, do you know if teams can change their lineups if any riders are coming back from injury in the Premiership playoffs?
I don't know whether they can actually.
There's a cut-off date, isn't there?
There is, yeah.
There's a cut-off
Yeah, I'm
date.
sure there's got. I can't remember what it is, but there is a cut-off date for.
Because we've run foul of that ourselves previously.
Yeah. I think that might have been encouraged by you.
So Rich Thomas, yeah, obviously. I didn't. Hot rods, bangers, and stock cars.
Stock cars isn't really racing, I don't think, to be fair. So it's just
Kill.
However, you can
it's just run each other off the road, isn't it?
Yeah,
So
you can see the whole thing
Yeah.
in one go. But, yeah. The other thing about Speedway is it's the only true team sport.
yeah, absolutely, yeah.
You can say F1's a team sport all you like. How can it be a team sport when the driver you want to beat more than any other driver is your teammate?
You're expected to as well. That's the thing. So.
And he's not happy when you overtake him and win.
No.
Craig Schlein says to ride a speedway bike at top speed with no brakes is very, very difficult, and to have close racing you need for very talented riders. People don't understand that it is a totally different motorcycle. And then there's
I think it's something was there, but he's taken it out.
okay.
Or it's a totally different motorcycle. I think that's what it means.
Yeah,
Well, Smarslick's a great example, isn't he? You know, he looks, he's super quick. Hard rider, sometimes maybe pushes the limits a little bit. Yeah, but I mean, as I say, I was going to say, 3 world championships for him, only 3 now off the current record. And he's actually 2 years younger than Ricard and the Major were when they won their 3rd title. So
I think Phil, is that Portney, has asked the most important question that we have to answer in Speedway. How do we attract more people to follow the sport before we lose more tracks? For me, having a more professional
approach.
Exactly. Not having situations where we shoot ourselves in the foot time and time again. not having situations where you can go, well, he's obviously biased.
Yeah.
Because he wants that for his track. Yeah, so having people that run the tracks be in charge of all of these things that need to be addressed, so that the media don't go, which we know that they do. Well, it's not really a sport, is it?
No.
Are our leaders still the bad guys? People who run Speedway.
I don't think anybody that runs Speedway is a bad guy. They're good guys because they're keeping our sport alive. But the way, for me anyway, the way Speedway is set up means that each promoter is really just going to focus on what's best for their club.
Yeah, it
and
needs
there is nobody that is there saying, well, hold on a minute, for overall, this is what we need to do.
It needs a shared vision, doesn't it? Because that's been Speedway's problem for so many years, is that you always get the feeling that everyone's working to their own agenda.
So yeah, I mean, I think for me that's the biggest thing, that you put that right, and then you can start looking at some of the other things.
This is where, for me, I mean,
like better promotion of what Speedway is to people.
This is for me where they need to. I mean, they usually have a 2-3 day conference in the winter. This is where the first day you can spend on setting the regulations for the following year, and then the next 2 days, right? Let's all sit down. Let's see how we can get more fans into stadiums.
Absolutely. I mean, I think at Edinburgh, the way it's such a shame that we may be losing them. This community-based way that they do with things is the way to get fans in.
Yeah, Berwick do it as well. In fairness, so Berwick have become a
way to get fans in.
Berwick have become a. You think Berwick were probably in the same situation as Birmingham were a few years ago, weren't they? In the fact that they seem to be living a bit of a hand-to-mouth experience, but they've become a very, very well-run Speedway club in the last 2 or 3 years. They don't spend ridiculous amounts of money, but they have a decent competitive side, and they put on a good show.
Craig Smee says, is it a ruling in the UK that we can't approach riders until the season's finished? Surely teams should be allowed to sound out riders and start potential negotiations and plans for the new season. It happens in Poland. I suppose teams wait until the AGM as well, so they know rules and points limits. Well, first thing to say is Poland's a rule unto itself, and that's something that probably needs to change. Can you put that back down so I can look at the points? I think the thing is that riders are under contract to the end of the season, so that's why you can't approach them. I think it's really as simple as that. I don't know. I presume it is a rule, given what we heard at the presentation even the other day. So, but these rules are as clear as mud sometimes.
Just yep.
And something else that needs to change.
Yep. Right, well, we've got the National League Riders Championship film. It was on Sunday at Scunthorpe. So let's have a. We've got the lineup here.
And we also are we doing the Nigel Pearson thing today as well? So
this forms part of it because obviously if you I'll give you the lineup, and then because I've put this on this one of the meetings that we're doing. So the lineup is Joe Thompson from Leicester, Ben Trigger from Plymouth, Adam Roynan from Plymouth, Nathan Stoneman from Oxford, Jack Smith from Bellevue, Ben Morley from Kent, Dan Thompson from Leicester, Harry McGurk from Bellevue, Greg Blair from Berwick, Tom Woolley from Armadale, Jordan Jenkins from Oxford, Lee Complin from Armadale, Max Clegg from Kent, Jack Kingston from Mildenhall, Kyle Bickley from Berwick, and Jason Edwards from Mildenhall. So that's your lineup for the. That's at Scunthorpe on Sunday afternoon, I think.
The few that stand out. I think I know who I think's going to win it.
First time since 2019 that it's been staged. Anders Rowe won that one, of course.
Right.
And
yes,
Adam Roynan, he won it in 2006. So it's
year before we started.
Yeah.
Where? Right. Well, there you go.
Well, let's get the fixtures, Mr. Brown. So.
Yeah, fixtures you want, or do you want to look at the tables first?
Well, look at the table first.
Have a quick look at the tables.
Oh God, there's a lot of red there.
There's quite a bit of red.
How have I still managed to stay in 17th place all this time?
Because you're not very good.
No, I mean, but I should have gone down because I didn't actually do it last week. Hey ho.
Well, you still had quite a big lead over the blokes or the people below you, didn't you? So, but still very close to the top though, just 4 points in it. So
Yeah.
How the mighty have fallen, Chris Brown.
Yeah, I've gone down a bit, haven't I? Ninth, I'll be happy. Top 10 finish. You know,
Well, yeah.
somebody who knows absolutely zilch. Too bad.
About anything, right?
About anything, yeah. You're spot on.
Right, so those of you that have not played
of
before...
course, this fixture list will be subject to change, of course, because there's been meetings slotted in all the time, aren't there? So
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So we'll let you know. But let's just go through it. And if you want to join in, please.
Yep.
Yeah.
So first of all,
You'll still probably beat me.
so first of all, tomorrow night you've got Oxford against Kent in the NDL.
And it's up to you first, Chris.
Oh, God, blimey. I'll go Oxford by 10.
Okay.
Oxford by 10 as well, actually.
I'll go Oxford by 6. Okay, so Knocker Cup in the Championship semi-final, second leg, Poole against Leicester.
That's going to be...
I think it was close to the first leg, wasn't it? I think. So
I'm going to say Leicester by... No, I'm not going to... What am I talking about? I'm going to say Poole by 8.
You just copied
I'm
Craig's.
going to say Poole by 6.
I'll go all by 10.
Okay.
Okay,
Then-
next up in the Premiership, Kings Lynn against Wolves.
That's up to you.
Would be, wouldn't it?
Of course. Yeah.
I'll go Wolves by 4.
Wolves by 2.
Kingsland by 2.
That one shocked me actually because Wolves haven't got a particularly great record at Kings Lynn. So
Yep.
okay, on the same night you've got Sheffield against Bellevue in the Premiership. So 2 playoff contenders going head to head.
That will be interesting. That's an important meeting. Nobody will want to lose that one.
No.
It's up to you, Chris.
I'll go Sheffield by 4.
I'm going to say a draw.
You'll get it right one week.
One day.
I'll go Sheffield by 2.
So you're not far off a draw.
Okay, so the next one is the Championship playoff semi-final, first leg, Edinburgh against Leicester.
That's up to you, Mike.
It is, yeah. I'm going to say Edinburgh by 4.
I'll go Edinburgh by 4 as well.
I'll go Edinburgh by 8.
Just because you can.
Yep.
Okay. Next up, the following night is the second leg, Leicester against Edinburgh.
And this is to you.
I'll go Leicester by 12.
I'll go Leicester by 8.
And I'll say Leicester by 10.
Okay. Okay, then you've got Sunday's meeting, the National League Riders Championship, so just go for a winner.
Who's in it?
You wasn't here when we went through it, was it?
No.
Did you? I'll go first.
Well, you go first, yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
going to
okay.
say Carl Bickley.
I'm going to say Jason Edwards.
I'm going to go Jason Edwards. I'm not going to copy you.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, and well, that's it, because
That's the lot.
well, obviously you got the matches on Monday, Wolves, but that's not yet
To be
confirmed who
arranged,
that's
yeah.
going to be, so
Yeah, of course, yeah. Didn't think that.
Yeah, Wolves will lose that. So
it's Ipswich probably.
yeah. There you go. Oh, we've got a Max Clegg voice from Simon Corbett. That's another good call as well.
Let's just have a quick look at what's going on down at Plymouth. It's finished there. Plymouth 40, Poole 50. So Poole go on to meet Glasgow. That's going to be a hell of a match, that one is, isn't it? In the semi-final.
Yeah, I'd like to go and watch that, but I can't get down to Poole and I can't get up to Glasgow. So
Richard's gone for Max Clegg as
Yeah,
well.
a few people saying Max Clegg. So
Well, Simon seems to think that Glasgow versus Poole is something we missed. Have we missed it?
I don't think it's been put. Has it been put in the schedule yet? Wasn't on the list, was it? So
It's not,
That's the BSBL's website, so it
Yeah.
won't be missed. You know,
Yeah.
not questioning their competence.
No. Rule 6433/4A, I think that one is.
You're
I bet
probably
I'm
right.
no, yeah.
You're probably right the way.
Somebody up in high ranks are listening to me and go, yeah, we'll do that. Call it that one.
So anyway, we're coming up to the business end of the season, chaps. Good season, bad season for Speedway as a whole. What are you reckoning?
I think there's been good and bad, hasn't there? I think the bad has been issues with tracks, particularly at places like Sheffield, who've had a lot of problems this year. Milton Hall as well. The loss of Newcastle. The issues with Peterborough, of course, as well. Although they've obviously got an extension. But I think there's been good things as well. You know, a very good performance in the Speedway Nations to get second place in Vaughan. So I think to back up that win last year at Bellevue. Dan Bewley's and Robert Lambert's rise in the GPs, particularly Dan Bewley, of course, with 2 Grand Prix wins, and
Absolutely.
you kind of get the feeling that Robert Lambert maybe isn't too far away from picking up a win. So I think there's been good things and bad things in Speedo this year.
Can I just say I think there's a lot more talk on social media about Speedway this season than last season.
Okay.
Yeah,
I think so.
Basically, the bottom line is you got to get more people through the turnstile.
yeah.
That's the bottom line, and
I suppose you could say as well the fact that we've got a world champion that hasn't been allowed to defend his title this year.
yeah,
I think obviously we all
understand
know
the reasons.
We all know the reasons, but
yeah, I mean that was a weird one. Craig Smith says, I've got friends who I bring to Speedway. They love it, and they especially tend at business end of when the playoffs start, as they find it more exciting and more riding on it. The problem they have is that although they like Speedway, football comes first for my mates, and they'd rather attend the football than Speedway if they had a choice. I mean, I never understand that, because I think football's boring compared to Speedway. You obviously have a different view from that.
I think I think it's a different sport, a different passion, basically, isn't it?
But
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
we understand in this country, football is king. You know, you. How many times do you watch a sports bulletin
And it starts with
and ends with
yes.
football?
Yeah.
It's just it's not a sports bulletin; it's a football bulletin. What do we do about that? I think we wait for the bubble to burst in football, and it will. I mean, you know that the football's running behind its means like mad.
Well
But it
beyond
sort of bursts all the time, though, doesn't it? And then sort of like regroups.
Peter Clark said, spoken like a true track man.
Yeah.
Hope Scunthorpe have plenty of spare airbags.
Yes.
Yeah, I bet they don't have to change them as fast as we did.
No, that was pretty clever, wasn't it? It was pretty.
Yeah, pretty fast.
That's the one thing I will say about Birmingham this year. They have gone on with the meetings as well this season. There's not been many meetings.
And that's something that we could do to attract. There's too much downtime
Yeah.
in lots and lots of tracks. So
that's
there's
right.
far
That's
too
one
much
of the biggest things
downtime.
that people say.
You know, and there is absolutely no reason that the next lot of riders can't be getting ready to come out before the last race is finished.
Yeah.
Okay, they have the odd occasion when somebody has 2 rides on the trot for whatever reason, but other than that, it should be done much quicker.
I've had this discussion with my dad a few times, and he said that he doesn't think it should be a 2 minutes allowance for rides. He thinks 1 minute's enough.
Well,
I suppose in some ways it depends on how far away the pits is from the track.
it only takes a minute to run a race.
Yeah, so it does seem. I mean, I know on the continent it is. If you're not on the track in 2 minutes, you're out. Whereas in this country, it seems to be you've got to be on the track.
You've got to be under power.
You've got to be under power, but you can mess about as long as you like. So
the reason they brought that in was because they stopped the riders from going across the centre green. So they said, well, then we need to be able to say that when we're making our way. So I think that's why that was brought in.
But no, in Poland, if you're not at the tapes ready to go when the 2 minutes finishes, tough, you're out.
There should be a clock there, shouldn't there? because that adds to the excitement.
Well, there is a clock at the top league tracks. So
Is there?
yeah,
And that adds to the excitement, doesn't it?
Yeah, it
the
does a
fact
bit,
that because you can watch that rock winding down. At least it's something to look at.
yeah.
But yeah, that is one of the ways that Speedway could attract bigger crowds is by making it much more a dynamic thing.
Yeah.
Bang, bang, bang.
Yeah, Ben's got the Plymouth Pool match right, so that's another point he's gained on Simon. That's 3 points now. So.
Ooh, that's getting
Sean
tasty.
Simos went to an amateur meeting for the first time and found it boring until my son came out, who she could relate to, and she went mental and loved it. Just need to take her to Leicester now and see him as see it as a team event for the clubs, but rider interaction is what is needed. If you can meet and greet and relate to a rider, spectators will grow. That's also
I was really
true.
impressed as well with Tom Brennan at the British final. As soon as obviously as soon as he was presented, he went straight over to the fans and started
Yes.
signing autographs.
Yeah.
I thought that was fantastic. That's what riders need to do. Don't just disappear off and pretend you're on your phone walking back to the pits. You know.
Craig Sline says more kids and junior races, pair of football boots is easier to maintain than a speedway bike. So really have to push the kids from 4 years old on Pee-wees, then 7 years old racing on 125cc bikes. We need tracks to be able to do it on. That's the problem. You couldn't do it at Perry Bar. Probably couldn't do it at Wolverhampton.
Probably not now.
Just because we're a beg and borrow sport, we have to beg and borrow stadiums. Craig Smith says the annoying thing for me this season is not enough consistency with fixtures. Too many gaps between the fixtures, and it's hard to promote the sport if you aren't racing for 3 weeks. I really hope next season the leagues can be evenly matched with enough teams in each league. More meetings like cup matches, pairs meetings, individual league meetings, championships, etc. People need to get into the habit of attending every week,
Yeah,
not every few weeks.
That's always been the problem, isn't it? If you stop going, you get out of the habit of going, and it's difficult to get you to get back into the habit of going.
But then you look at football, you don't have a meeting every week, you have a meeting every other week. Essentially, I mean, you have away
basically,
meetings.
yeah.
So,
Can somebody explain the Eddie Kennett farce is a downer?
Well, that's
we've
obviously-
been through
we've
this
been
one
through-
before.
That's obviously having him as rider replacement all season for.
Oh, right, okay.
After coming,
That's
after
one of
saying he was retiring and then coming
yeah.
on and riding half a race, and
Yeah,
and
that's
falling
been a
off
frustration this season. There is the number of meetings that you've had where there's been RR and guests. I mean, you look at Plymouth's team in the last few weeks; it's practically
Not
been
enough
up with a select
riders.
team. So
not enough riders. Lawrence Rogers says we do have 125cc kids at Birmingham in between the MSDL meetings. This is true. Yeah, I mean, I can't fault what Birmingham do at all. I think it would be difficult for them to do any more than that, though.
yeah,
We need tracks that they can practice on. Like, I mean, I think Scunthorpe's got a little track that they can practice on, haven't they? Or they used to have.
Sheffield used to have one as well, didn't they? I think they used to have one just round the corner. Eastbourne. Eastbourne. I mean, that's another thing we obviously ought to touch on as well. Eastbourne, of course, now very unlikely to be back in 2023 because they're obviously still having trouble sorting out the problems that were left behind by the previous promotion. So,
Yeah. I also don't know why more tracks don't invest in electric speedway bikes. There is such a thing,
yeah,
because then tracks become a little bit more available because there's no noise involved.
yeah.
You know,
I think they're expensive as well, aren't they?
possibly. I mean, I don't
factors.
know what the price of them would be, but it's not certainly something to look at. I would have thought, but hey ho. Well, we are. Good God, coming up to the time.
Yeah.
This time next week, we'll have a clearer idea of playoff
Yep.
pictures. Looking forward to. I presume some of these will be on BSN and so on, so we'll be able to see.
They'll certainly be on Euros, but whether they'll be on the championship
The
ones.
championships
will be,
may well be. Yeah.
Yeah, I might watch that Pool Glasgow meeting. That should be that could potentially
That
be
could
the winner
be-
of the whole thing.
Yeah,
so
that could be really,
wins
really
that.
good.
Yeah,
Lawrence Rogers says electric bikes are being tested in Denmark. There you go. On that note, we will say good night to you. Enjoy your Speedway this week, wherever you're watching it. Have fun. Take care. Bye-bye.
Good night.
Enjoy your stay.